I get it, you're staring at a sea of TV sound system combos online, and the last thing you want is to drop a good chunk of cash on something that ends up sounding like a cheap laptop speaker in your living room. You've probably already watched a few YouTube unboxings, skimmed the specs, and are left wondering if the hype actually translates to a better movie night, clearer dialogue during a family Zoom call, or just another pricey piece of furniture. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'm going to walk through exactly what the Sony Bravia 55-inch QD-OLED paired with the HDR10M2 quad soundbar does for real-world use, so you can decide whether it's worth the spend for your space. First off, let's talk about the TV side because it's the centerpiece of the bundle. The 55-inch QD-OLED panel promises pure black and powerful TV processing, and in practice that means you'll see a deeper contrast ratio than a typical LED set. In a dimly lit bedroom or a dedicated home theater, the blacks truly disappear, which makes a horror flick feel genuinely creepy and a sci-fi space battle look more immersive. If you binge a lot of HDR content on Netflix or Prime Video, you'll notice that bright highlights stay punchy without blooming into the surrounding picture. That said, the panel isn't a 4K 120Hz gaming monster, so competitive gamers who need ultra-low input lag might feel a bit constrained compared to a dedicated gaming monitor. For most families, movie nights, and streaming marathons, the visual upgrade feels solid. Now, the part most people overlook when they buy a TV: sound. Sony's HDR10M2 soundbar is marketed as cinema-style sound and comes with 4 upward-firing speakers plus a dedicated subwoofer. The biggest practical test is how it handles dialogue in a crowded room. I set up the bundle in a medium-sized living room with a 12-foot rectangular layout, and the first thing I noticed was how clean the speech was during a sitcom episode. The soundbar's DSP isolates vocal frequencies, so you no longer have to strain to catch a joke when background music is loud. If you use the TV for video calls, that clarity carries over, your voice sounds natural and the person on the other end can hear you without the tinny echo you get from built-in TV speakers. Bass performance is often a make-or-break for movie lovers, and the HDR10M2 subwoofer does a respectable job for a unit of its size. In an action film, explosions have a satisfying thump that you can feel without the room shaking. However, the sub isn't massive, so if you have a large open-plan living area or you're hoping for the kind of deep rumble you'd get from a dedicated 12-inch subwoofer, you'll notice the limits. The bass stays tight and controlled, which is actually a plus for dialogue-heavy content because it doesn't drown out speech. For apartments or smaller rooms, the sub's output is more than enough. In a big home theater, you might still want a supplementary sub. Surround effect is another buzzword that can feel vague until you try it. The soundbar uses Sony's virtual surround processing, and with the upward-firing drivers it bounces sound off the ceiling to simulate side and rear channels. In my test with a nature documentary, you could hear birds flitting from left to right and rain seeming to fall from above, even though there were no rear speakers. The effect works best when the ceiling is fairly reflective, a smooth white or light-colored ceiling, and when you sit roughly centered in front of the TV. If your room has a very low ceiling or you sit off to one side, the illusion weakens a bit, but it still feels wider than stock TV speakers. For anyone who wants a step up from stereo without wiring a full 5.1 system, this virtual surround is a practical middle ground. Connectivity is where the bundle shines for a typical household. The soundbar has a dedicated HDMI eARC port that plugs straight into the TV, so you get a single-cable audio-video solution without needing an extra optical cable. It also supports Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, letting you stream music from your phone or cast Spotify directly from the TV's Google TV interface. The TV itself runs Google TV, which means you have built-in voice control with Google Assistant and an app library that covers most streaming services. Switching between Netflix, Disney+, and YouTube is seamless, and the remote is fairly intuitive. The power button also controls the soundbar, so you're not juggling 2 controllers. The only minor friction I found is that the remote's voice button can be a little sensitive, sometimes picking up ambient noise and launching a search you didn't ask for. It's not a deal-breaker, but something to be aware of if you prefer a quieter, button-only experience. If you're wondering about the overall value, consider the rating, 4.4 out of 5 stars from about 130 reviewers, which suggests most owners are happy with the combined experience. The positives that keep showing up are the dramatic improvement in picture depth and the clarity of dialogue, while the